Hey, my name is Ethan. I'm 29. 3 months ago, I walked into an upscale deli to buy a sandwich I couldn't afford, and when the woman behind the counter handed me my change, I said, "Keep it. I just wanted a reason to come back." I didn't know she was married. I didn't know her husband owned the building I lived in and the house I was renovating down the street. I just knew that when the lights went out during a storm, and we sat across from each other in a candlelit tasting room with our knees touching under the table, she whispered, "You shouldn't say things like that." But she didn't move away. If you're watching this right now, tell me where you're from in the comments, because I still don't know if what we did was wrong. I kept that receipt for 3 years. It sat in the back of my kitchen drawer with dead batteries and rubber bands and expired coupons I'd never use. Sometimes when I couldn't sleep, I'd pull it out and run my thumb over the faded ink. Cole Market, 847s, paid in cash. And on the back, in neat handwriting that slanted just slightly to the right, her note. But I'm getting ahead of myself. I should start with the morning I first walked past that place. The morning everything still made sense. It was a Tuesday in September. Early. The kind of morning where the city hadn't quite woken up yet, and you could still hear individual sounds instead of just noise. I got off the bus 3 blocks from the brownstone with a gas station coffee in one hand and my tool bag slung over my shoulder. The address was in one of those neighborhoods I only visited for work. Tree-lined streets, cars that cost more than I'd make in 5 years, women in yoga pants walking tiny dogs that probably ate better than I did. The brownstone had scaffolding up the front and a big sign that said Cole Properties. Luis was already there, leaning against his truck and scrolling through his phone. "You're early," he said without looking up. Traffic was light. Rich people's houses always need the most work. He tucked his phone away and grinned. "You know why? Because they can afford to care about shit that doesn't matter." I didn't disagree. We spent the morning tearing out old trim and mapping electrical. The house smelled like dust and decades of other people's lives. Around 11, Luis stretched and announced he was starving. "There's a deli around the corner," he said. "Cole Market. Fancy as hell. Sandwiches cost more than my phone bill." "I'll stick with the cart." "Suit yourself." But by lunch I was curious and hungry enough not to care what things cost. I walked around the corner, and there it was. Cole Market, big glass windows, warm light, a dark green awning that looked like it belonged in some European city I'd never visit. Through the window, I could see wooden shelves lined with wine bottles and imported things in jars I couldn't pronounce. The door chime rang when I pushed it open. Soft. Musical. Like walking into someone's living room. Inside was even nicer. Polished counters, soft jazz playing from somewhere I couldn't see, the smell of fresh bread and something citrus and clean. A few customers browsed the aisles in that unhurried way people move when they have money and time. Behind the register stood a woman. She was black, maybe mid-40s. Hair pulled back, smooth. She wore a cream-colored blazer over a dark blouse and small gold earrings that caught the light. Her makeup was subtle but perfect, the kind of put-together that takes effort to look effortless. She glanced up when the chime sounded. Her eyes were dark brown and tired in a way makeup couldn't quite hide. I suddenly felt very aware of my paint-splattered jeans and the sawdust probably still in my hair. I walked to the deli case and stared at sandwiches with names I didn't recognize, prices that made my stomach drop. "Can I help you find something?" Her voice was warmer than I expected. Professional, but not cold. Yes, sorry, I gestured vaguely at the case. "What's good that won't totally destroy my budget?" The corner of her mouth lifted. Just barely. "The turkey and brie is popular. So is the Italian." "Which one's cheaper?" "The Italian. No judgment in her voice, just facts. I'll take that. She made the sandwich herself. I watched her hands, precise, efficient, gold wedding band pressing a dent into her ring finger, nails painted a dark red that was almost black. When she rang me up, the total was still more than I'd planned to spend, but I didn't say anything. I counted out bills and change. Put it on the counter. Thank you, I said. I turned towards the door. The chime rang as I pushed it open. Sir? I stopped, looked back. She held up a few coins. You forgot your change. I don't know what made me say it. Maybe the way the light came through the window. Maybe the tired kindness in her eyes. Maybe I was just tired of being careful. Keep it, I said. I just wanted a reason to come back. Then I walked out before I could see her reaction. My heart hammered the whole way down the block. That afternoon, Luis kept asking why I was so quiet. I told him I was just tired. That night in my apartment, I lay in bed staring at the ceiling and replaying the moment. The look on her face before I turned away. The split second where something flickered behind those polished, guarded eyes. I told myself I'd been an idiot, that she probably got lines like that all the time, that I'd go back to the cart tomorrow and forget the whole thing. I set my alarm for 5:30 and tried to sleep. But the next day I found myself walking toward Cole Market again, at lunch, telling myself I was just hungry, that it was convenient. The door chime rang, the same warm light, the same soft music. This time she was restocking wine bottles on a high shelf. She wore dark slacks and a burgundy sweater that somehow still looked expensive. When she heard the chime, she turned. Our eyes met. Hi, I said. Orchestrated narrative momentum through first encounter setup and forthcoming revelation twist. Good start. I need to continue building this first encounter and then move into the twist where he discovers she's Marcus's wife. Let me keep going with the natural flow of the story, maintaining the tone and pacing. Hi. A pause. Back for another sandwich? If that's okay? That's what we're here for. But the way she said it, there was something underneath. Some awareness that we both knew this wasn't just about sandwiches. She made me the same Italian. Didn't ask what I wanted. Just remembered. When I paid, she counted my change carefully and set it on the counter between us. All accounted for this time, she said. Good to know. I picked up the coins. Our fingers didn't touch, but I felt the space between them like static. As I walked to the door, she said, The work going well down the street? I stopped. You know about the brownstone? It's a small neighborhood. She wiped down the counter even though it was already clean. We notice things. Yeah, it's going fine. Lots of old wood to replace. I'm sure it'll look beautiful when you're done. The way she said, you're singular, like she'd separated me from the crew, filed me away as someone specific. I hope so, I said. The chime rang behind me as I left. This became the pattern. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Each day I told myself I'd skip it. Each day I ended up pushing through that door. I learned her name from the tag pinned to her blazer. Vanessa. She learned mine when I finally used my card to pay. Ethan, she repeated, testing the sound of it. That's a good name. My mom thought so. Smart woman. On Thursday, an older white woman in an expensive coat stood behind me in line. She smiled at Vanessa with the familiarity of decades. Mrs. Green, Vanessa said warmly. The usual? Please, dear. And an extra loaf of that sourdough. Dorothy's coming for bridge tonight. As Vanessa rang her up, Mrs. Green studied me with the kind of casual intensity that wealthy people mistake for friendliness. You're one of the boys working on the Westbrook place, aren't you? Yes, ma'am. Such a shame it sat empty so long. But I suppose that's business. She glanced at Vanessa. Your husband has such vision. This whole neighborhood has improved so much under Cole Properties. Something shifted in Vanessa's face. Too quick to name, too small for Mrs. Green to notice. He works very hard, Vanessa said quietly. I paid for my sandwich, nodded to them both, left, but my mind was spinning. Your husband, Cole Properties, Cole Market. I should have seen it coming. Friday morning, a black SUV pulled up to the brownstone. Luis whistled low. That's the boss, Marcus Cole, owns half the block. A man climbed out. Early 50s. Black, expensive suit. The kind of confident that comes from never having to prove anything. He shook hands with our foreman, talked about timelines and budgets. Then his eyes swept over the crew and landed on me. You must be Ethan, he said. I heard good things from Jim. Thank you, sir. No need for sir. Marcus is fine. He smiled. Professional. Distant. My wife runs the little market on the corner. Cole Market. You might have seen it. My stomach dropped through the floor. Yeah, I managed. I've been there a couple times. Good. Vanessa puts her whole heart into that place, keeps herself busy. He said it like a man discussing a hobby, like she ran a book club instead of a business. I nodded, tried to look normal, felt my pulse in my teeth. At lunch, I walked to Cole Market because not going would have been more obvious than going. The door chime felt louder, the lights too bright. Vanessa looked up from the register. For a second, neither of us moved. Hi, she said. Hi. I ordered. She made my sandwich. Her hands were steady, but she didn't meet my eyes. When she handed me the bag, she'd added a small chocolate chip cookie on top. On the house, she said quietly. For being patient with all the construction noise. You don't have to. I know. I took it. The bag felt heavier than it should. As I turned to leave, she said, almost too soft to hear, It's good work you're doing. On the house, I mean. My husband's house. I looked back. She was already ringing up the next customer, but her hand shook just slightly as she pressed the keys. The weekend stretched long and empty. I did laundry in the basement, prepped lesson plans for the shop class I taught one day a week, called my sister Maddie, who asked if I was eating vegetables and if my landlord had raised the rent again. Not yet, I said. He will. They always do. I didn't tell her my landlord was Marcus Cole, that his wife made sandwiches I couldn't afford and looked at me like I was something she'd found on a high shelf she couldn't quite reach. Sunday evening, I walked through the neighborhood, told myself I was getting air. But I ended up across the street from Cole Market, watching Vanessa flip the sign to closed and lock the door from inside. She wore jeans and a soft sweater, hair down. Softer somehow without the blazer and the armor. I didn't cross the street. I just watched her turn off most of the lights, leaving one warm glow near the register. Then she was gone into the back, and I walked home feeling like I'd stolen something just by looking. Monday, the pattern started again. Tuesday, Vanessa asked how the renovation was going. I told her it was slow but steady. She said she'd noticed the scaffolding coming down on the north side. Wednesday, her stepdaughter was at the register. Early 20s. Stylish in that effortless way young people are before life teaches them to try. She had Vanessa's eyes, but a sharper edge. You must be Ethan, she said. That's me. I'm Jasmine. She rang up my usual without asking what I wanted. My mom talks about you. She does? She said you're polite. A small smirk. Low bar around here, but I guess you cleared it. Vanessa appeared from the back, saw us talking, and something passed over her face too fast to read. Jasmine, can you check the delivery and back? Sure. But Jasmine's eyes lingered on me for an extra second, assessing something, deciding something. Thursday it rained. Not hard, just steady. The kind of rain that makes you want to be inside with warm lights and something hot to drink. I ducked into Coal Market around 2. My jacket was damp, my hair dripping a little. The store was almost empty. Just one old man browsing wine in the back. Vanessa stood behind the counter wearing a soft gray cardigan over her usual crisp blouse. When she saw me, her expression shifted, softened. "You're soaked," she said. "It's not so bad. You want some tea? I just made a pot." "I don't want to." "I'm offering." Firm, but gentle. "Sit." She gestured to a small table near the window where customers could sample wines during events. I sat. She brought 2 mugs, sat across from me. The rain pattered against the glass. R&B played low from somewhere, an old track, smooth and aching. "I grew up in a neighborhood where rain sounded different," she said, not looking at me, looking at her mug. Louder, metal roofs, fire escapes, cars splashing through potholes. This kind of rain is too polite. You miss it? Sometimes. My husband thinks I'm crazy. He worked so hard to get away from all that. She took a sip. But noise means life is happening, you know? Yeah, I know. We sat there, not talking, just listening to the rain. When she leaned forward to set her mug down, her sleeve pulled back. I saw how the gold bracelet on her wrist had worn a faint mark into her skin. How the ring pressed its dent deeper than I'd realized. She caught me looking. "Old jewelry," she said quickly. "I should probably get them resized. Or just take them off sometimes." The words hung there, heavier than I meant. "Yeah," she said quietly. "Maybe." Mrs. Green pushed through the door, shaking rain off her umbrella. The spell broke. Vanessa stood smoothly, smiled, became the shopkeeper again. I finished my tea and left. But that night in my apartment, I couldn't stop thinking about the mark on her wrist, the rain, the tired weight in her voice when she said my husband thinks I'm crazy. The next week blurred together. Monday I stopped in. Quick, professional. Tuesday I stayed longer. We talked about music. She said she'd loved Jill Scott when she was younger. Still played her albums when the store was empty. Wednesday. Marcus showed up at the brownstone to review progress. He mentioned wanting everything perfect for some events connected to the market's rebranding. He invited the crew to stop by. "Vanessa's been planning it for months," he said. Proud, but distant. "Should be nice." Thursday, Vanessa brought coffee and pastries to the site. Said Marcus asked her to drop them off. In front of everyone she was gracious, polished, proper. When she handed me a cup, our fingers brushed. Luis elbowed me later. "You know her." "I buy lunch there sometimes." "She's pretty." "She's married." "I know. I'm just saying." I didn't respond. That night I put the coffee cup sleeve with the Coal Market logo in my kitchen drawer. Told myself I'd throw it out later. Then came the storm. It was a Monday in October. The forecast had been warning about it all weekend. Heavy rain. Possible power issues. By afternoon the sky looked bruised. Wind picked up. Our foreman called it early. "Get home before this hits," he said. Luis offered to give me a ride, but I said I wanted to walk. Grab some food first. "Suit yourself," he said, "but you're gonna get soaked." The first drops hit as I rounded the corner toward Coal Market. By the time I pushed through the door, I was damp and breathing hard. The chime sounded. Vanessa looked up from where she was reorganizing shelves near the register. "You picked a hell of a time to shop," she said. "Didn't want to go home to an empty fridge." "Smart." She glanced at the darkening street. "Though I might close early if this keeps up. Don't want to lose power with customers inside. I grabbed a sandwich from the case, some chips, a bottle of water. The lights flickered. Vanessa frowned. That's not a good sign. The last two customers in the store exchanged looks and headed for the door. One called out, "Stay safe, Mrs. Cole." Then it was just us. Rain hammered the windows now. Thunder rumbled close. The lights flickered again, went out. Emergency lights kicked in. Dim, patchy, casting strange shadows. "Shit," Vanessa muttered. She pulled out her phone, checked something. "Whole block's out. Could be ours." "You want me to go? I can—" "No, just wait a minute. Let me think." She stood there in the half-dark. Rain pounding. The hum of refrigerators died. Sudden silence except for the storm. "Come on," she said finally. "I don't like customers near the front windows in weather like this. We can wait in the tasting room until it passes." She unlocked a door near the back. I'd never been through it before. The tasting room was small, cozy. Wine bottles lined the walls on wooden racks. A small table, 2 chairs, one narrow window high up that showed nothing but gray rain. Vanessa found a candle and matches in a drawer. Lit it. The flame caught and held. Warm light pooled between us. "Have a seat," she said. "Might be a while." I sat. She sat across from me. The candle flickered. Rain drummed overhead. Her phone played music on low. That same R&B from before. Smooth and aching and pulling at something in my chest. "This is nice," I said. Meaning the room, maybe meaning more. It was my idea. She looked around. Softer than usual. Marcus thought it was unnecessary, but I wanted a space that felt, I don't know, personal. "It does." She smiled, sad around the edges. "You hungry? Your sandwich is probably getting warm, but..." "I'm okay." We sat there. Minutes passed, the storm outside, the candle between us. Her face in the half-light looked younger, more tired, more real. "Can I ask you something?" she said. "Yeah." "Why do you keep coming back? Really?" I could have lied. Should have. "The sandwiches are good," I said. "Ethan," the way she said my name. "Because..." I swallowed. "Because you look at me like I'm a person instead of just the guy in work boots tracking in dirt. Because this place feels like something I'm not supposed to have, but I want anyway." She didn't look away. "You shouldn't say things like that." "I know." "My husband..." "I know." "This is..." "I know." Under the table our knees touched. Neither of us moved. The candle burned lower. The rain eased slightly, but neither of us stood up. When the power finally clicked back on 20 minutes later, the lights were too bright, too real. We both blinked against them. Vanessa stood quickly, smoothed her clothes. I need to check the registers," she said. "Make sure everything reset properly." "Yeah, of course." She walked me through the back hallway instead of the front. Said it was quicker. But really it was so I wouldn't walk past the windows where Mrs. Green or someone else might see me leaving. At the back door she stopped, looked at me. "Thank you," she said, "for waiting with me." "Anytime." Her hand rose, touched my forearm, just for a second, then pulled back. "Good night, Ethan." I stepped into the alley. The rain had stopped, but puddles reflected streetlights. I walked home feeling like I'd crossed some line I couldn't see but couldn't step back over. The next day, Marcus showed up at the brownstone again. He walked through with the foreman pointing at details, talking about cameras, security. "We upgraded the system last year," he said. "After some shoplifting issues. Cameras in the market, cameras here, cameras in 3 other buildings. You can't be too careful." My blood went cold. "Motion activated," Marcus continued. "High definition. I can check footage from my phone if I'm bored." He laughed. The foreman laughed. I didn't. That afternoon when I went to the market, everything felt different. Vanessa was behind the register but distant. Polite but cold. When I paid, she didn't meet my eyes. Didn't ask about the storm or the renovation or anything. "Have a nice day," she said. Generic, automatic. I looked for the camera. Found it. Small dome in the corner near the hallway to the tasting room. How much did it see? Over the next week, she pulled further back. I still went to the market. Couldn't seem to stop. But each visit felt colder, more careful. Jasmine worked the register one day. She looked at me with something between pity and warning. "Mom's stressed about some business stuff," she said. Casual. Too casual. In case you were wondering why she's been weird. I wasn't sure you weren't. That weekend I avoided the neighborhood entirely. Stayed in my apartment, cleaned, tried to reset my head. Monday I went back, had to, needed to see her. But when I walked in, there was a new lock on the tasting room door. And another camera. This one newer, aimed directly at the hallway. Vanessa barely looked at me. I bought a bottle of water I didn't need, and left. That night I sat at my kitchen table staring at that coffee cup sleeve in my drawer. Some doors you walk through without realizing. Some you can never walk back out of. And some get locked while you're still trying to figure out which side you're supposed to be on. 2 weeks passed, like pulling teeth. I went to work. Came home. Taught my shop class on Wednesdays. Avoided that corner of the neighborhood when I could. When I couldn't, I walked past Cole Market with my head down. Told myself I was being professional, respectful, smart. But at night, I'd lie in bed and replay that moment in the tasting room. The candle between us, her knee against mine. The way she'd touched my arm before I left. The way she'd looked at me like I was something she wanted and feared in equal measure. It was a Wednesday in late October when everything shifted again. Marcus showed up at the brownstone mid-morning. Tense, talking fast with the foreman about budgets and timelines. I was carrying drywall sheets when I heard him say it. "The market's not performing the way I'd hoped. Too much overhead. Too little return. I might need to restructure. Maybe sell." My hands went numb. I almost dropped the sheets. The foreman asked something about property values. Marcus answered. I stopped hearing words, just the tone. Practical, detached. Like he was discussing a car he didn't need anymore. At lunch, I didn't eat, just walked. Ended up at Cole Market because my feet took me there without asking permission. Vanessa was at the register. A man in a suit stood next to her. Consultant or realtor, maybe, gesturing at displays, talking about maximizing square footage and modernizing the brand. Marcus was there too, arms crossed, nodding along. Vanessa's face was stone, but her hands gripped the edge of the counter so tight her knuckles went pale. I stood outside the window, watching through the glass like some pathetic ghost. She glanced up once. Saw me. Her expression flickered. Then she looked away. Back to the consultant. Back to pretending I didn't exist. I walked home. Skipped the rest of the workday. Luis texted, asking if I was okay. I didn't answer. That night I opened the drawer with the coffee sleeve. Stared at it. Thought about throwing it away. Couldn't. The next morning I found a notice slipped under my apartment door. Plumbing inspection. Cole Properties. Mandatory. They'd be checking units next week. I crumpled it, then smoothed it out. Stared at Marcus's company logo at the top. He owned the brownstone I was renovating. He owned the building I lived in. He owned the market Vanessa had built with her own hands. He owned everything. And I was just some carpenter who couldn't even afford to eat there without checking my bank account first. By Friday, I'd convinced myself to stay away. Really stay away this time. But Friday night around 11, my buzzer rang. I ignored it. Then I heard footsteps in the hallway. Soft. Deliberate. The sound of paper sliding under my door. I sat frozen on my couch, staring at the crack of light under the door, listening to the footsteps retreat. The building's front door closing in the distance. I waited 5 minutes. 10. Then I got up. A plain envelope on the floor. No name, no address. Inside was a Coal Market receipt. Dated from the day I first said, "Keep it." I just wanted a reason to come back. Exact change paper-clipped to it, and a note in neat handwriting, for next time you forget. V. I stood there holding it, hands shaking, heart hammering. She knew where I lived, had always known. Marcus's company managed the building. She had access to tenant files, addresses, everything, and she'd walked here, late, alone. Slipped this under my door like a secret. I read the note again. 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 Then I sat on the edge of my bed with the receipt in one hand and the bills in the other, and I didn't sleep until the sky turned gray. Saturday I stayed in. Didn't trust myself to go outside. Didn't trust what I'd do if I saw her. Sunday I cleaned my apartment, did laundry, meal prepped, pretended I was normal. Monday morning Luis took one look at me and whistled low. "You look like shit," he said. "Thanks." "Girl problems?" "Something like that." The married ones are always the hardest to get over. I didn't ask how he knew, just nodded and got to work. At lunch I made myself walk to Coal Market. Had to. Couldn't let the envelope sit between us like some unspoken thing. The door chime rang. Vanessa looked up from restocking shelves. She went still. Just for a second. Then she smiled. Small. Careful. "Hi," she said. "Hi." I walked to the counter. She came over. We stood there with polished wood between us. "Your usual?" she asked. "Yeah." She made my sandwich. Same as always. Hand steady, professional, but I saw the faint tremor when she reached for the bread. When she rang me up, I paid exact change, down to the penny. "All accounted for," I said quietly. Her eyes met mine, held. "Good," she said, just as quiet. "I'd hate for you to forget anything." I picked up my bag, started to leave, stopped. "The tasting room wall," I said. "The one I fixed. It looks good." "It does." A pause. "Thank you for that." "Anytime." The chime rang behind me. I felt her eyes on my back all the way to the door. Over the next week we found a new rhythm. Careful. Measured. Safe. I came in. She served me. We talked about the weather, the renovation, neighborhood gossip. Nothing heavy, nothing dangerous. But underneath was everything we couldn't say. Tuesday, Mrs. Green stood in line ahead of me, talking about the rebranding event coming up, how elegant it would be, how Mrs. Cole had such good taste. Then she turned to me, smiled. "You're here quite a lot, young man. Must be good sandwiches." "Best in the neighborhood," I said. Her eyes lingered, assessing. "How nice that you're so loyal." When she left, Vanessa met my eyes across the counter. Something passed between us. A shared understanding that we were being watched, measured, judged. "She's harmless," Vanessa said softly. "Is she?" "No," a small smile. Sad at the edges. "But she means well." Wednesday, Jasmine worked the register. When I walked in, she leaned on the counter and studied me like I was a puzzle she was solving. "You know what's funny?" she said. "What?" "My mom seems less stressed lately, like lighter somehow, even with all the rebranding chaos and my stepdad talking about restructuring." She tilted her head. "You wouldn't know anything about that, would you?" I just buy sandwiches here. Right. She rang me up, handed me my bag. For what it's worth, I think she needs people who see her, really see her, so thanks for that. I didn't know what to say. She waved me off before I could figure it out. Thursday, I overheard Luis talking with another guy on the crew. Did you hear the market sale fell through? Luis said. Boss changed his mind. Gonna rebrand it instead. Let his wife have her way. My chest loosened. I hadn't realized how tight it had been. That afternoon when I went to the market, Vanessa looked different. Lighter. Like some weight had lifted. You heard? She asked when I approached the counter. About the rebranding? About us staying. She smiled, real this time. Marcus decided it was worth keeping after all. That's good. It's more than good. She rang up my order. When she counted my cash, she paused, looked up. You're 5 cents short. I knew I wasn't. Knew she knew I wasn't. I pulled out a larger bill, set it down. Keep the change. She didn't touch it, just looked at me, eyes dark and warm and full of things neither of us could say. Thank you, she said quietly. I left before I could do something stupid. The rebranding event fell on a Friday in early November. The Brownstone crew was invited. Marcus himself had stopped by earlier that week to remind us. Said we should come by, have a drink, celebrate good work. Bring someone if you want, he'd added. It's a neighborhood thing. Luis decided to bring his girlfriend. I said I'd go alone. That afternoon, I helped with last-minute touch-ups at the market. Minor things. Straightening shelves, moving tables for the wine displays. Vanessa was everywhere, checking details, directing people, hair up, makeup perfect. Black dress that was elegant and untouchable. At one point I was holding a ladder while she reached for something on a high shelf. She steadied herself with one hand on my shoulder. Almost there, she said. Stretched higher. The door to the tasting room swung open. Jasmine walked in. Saw us. Froze for just a second. Then she smiled. Too knowing. Looks like you two have a system. Vanessa climbed down quickly, brushed off her dress. We're just finishing up. I can see that. Jasmine's eyes met mine. You're staying for the event, right? I think so. Good. Mom worked hard on this. She deserves to have people who appreciate it. She walked out. Vanessa and I stood there in the aftermath. She's perceptive, I said. Too perceptive. Vanessa adjusted a bottle on the shelf, even though it didn't need adjusting. We should probably keep some distance tonight. People will be watching. I know. I mean it, Ethan. I know. But the way she said my name, like it hurt coming out. By 7, the market was full. Customers, neighbors, associates of Marcus, everyone dressed nice and holding wine glasses and talking in that performative way people do at events like this. Luis and his girlfriend arrived. I stood near the back, tried to blend in. Marcus worked the room, confident, charming, shaking hands and laughing at jokes. Vanessa moved through the crowd with quiet grace, playing hostess, playing wife. I watched them together. The way he touched her back when introducing her. The way she smiled and nodded and said all the right things. The way she looked past him once and found me in the crowd. Held my eyes for just a second before looking away. Mrs. Green approached me with a glass of white wine. Lovely event, isn't it? It is. Mrs. Cole has such an eye for these things, and Mr. Cole is so supportive, such a solid couple, you can tell. She sipped her wine. Not like some marriages where people are just going through motions. I didn't answer. Are you married, Ethan? No, ma'am. Smart. Take your time. Find someone right. She patted my arm. Though I suppose you're young enough not to worry yet. She drifted away. I felt the age gap like a hand around my throat. Around 9, the crowd started thinning. I caught Vanessa's eye across the room. She was standing near Marcus, tired but composed. I mouthed, "Good job." She mouthed, "Thank you." Then Marcus said something to her, and she laughed. Light and easy, and I realized I'd never heard her laugh like that in all the weeks I'd known her. I left, walked home through cool November air, hands in my pockets, receipt still in my drawer back at the apartment. The next week settled into a new pattern. Monday, I came in. Vanessa asked how I thought the event went. I said it looked perfect. She said it felt like theater. Tuesday, Mrs. Green made another comment about how often I was there. Vanessa deflected smoothly, changed the subject, offered Mrs. Green a discount on bulk orders. Wednesday, Jasmine teased me about being practically furniture now, said she'd have to charge me rent soon. I laughed. Vanessa smiled from behind the register, but didn't join in. Thursday, I bought the same sandwich, paid the same way. We talked about the weather, and whether winter would come early this year. Nothing happened. Everything happened. Because every time our hands almost touched across the counter, every time our eyes held a second too long, every time she said my name in that soft voice, it built, layered, deepened, and neither of us did anything about it. Then, in mid-November, the foreman pulled me aside. "Marcus is cutting back on renovation budgets," he said, "focusing on other projects. This one's almost done anyway. You'll have maybe 2 more weeks. Then I don't know when the next job will come through." My stomach dropped. "Okay. You have other work lined up? I'll figure something out." But I wouldn't. Not in this neighborhood. Not anywhere Marcus Cole owned property. That afternoon, I went to the market around closing time, 8 p.m. Jasmine was flipping the sign from open to closed just as I arrived. She saw me through the glass, paused, then gave me a small, sad smile and shook her head. I stood there like an idiot while she locked the door and walked away. 2 days later, I got home around 11 at night, exhausted, hungry, trying to figure out my next move. I unlocked my apartment, flipped on the lights, and stopped. On the floor just inside the door was another envelope, same plain paper, same neat handwriting. Inside, a receipt, the one from that very first day, the one I'd told myself I'd lost, and exact change, down to the penny, and a note. Some people forget. Some people keep receipts for years. I think you're the second kind. V. I sat on my bed, stared at the note, the receipt, the coins. She'd come here again, late, alone, walked up 3 flights of stairs and slipped this under my door, walked away without knocking, without asking for anything, just leaving pieces of herself for me to find. The next morning I went to the market before work. Early, 7:30. Vanessa was unlocking the front door. Hair pulled back, casual clothes under a long coat. She saw me. Stopped. "Hi," I said. "Hi. Can we talk? Just for a minute." She glanced up and down the empty street, then nodded. Unlocked the door. Let me inside. The market was dim, cold. The refrigerators hummed to life as she flipped switches. "The job's ending," I said. "In 2 weeks." I heard. "Marcus's company owns my building too, so I'll probably need to move. Find work in another part of the city." She stood behind the counter, hands flat on the surface, not looking at me. "That makes sense," she said quietly. "Does it?" "Ethan." "I'm not asking for anything," I said. I wanted you to know that I'll be gone soon, and I won't keep coming back." She looked up then, eyes bright, with something that could have been tears, or just the early light. "You're talented," she said, voice steady, professional. You'll land on your feet. The city is big but small at the same time. You never know who you'll run into. Is that what you want? To run into me somewhere? I don't know what I want. Honest. Painful. But I know what I can't have. Yeah. I swallowed. Me too. I turned to leave, hand on the door. Ethan? I looked back. You forgot your change. I glanced at the counter. She'd set out a few bills, a couple coins. I paid already, I said. I know. She pushed them toward me. But you should take it anyway. I left them there, walked out, let the door chime ring behind me one last time that morning. I went back that night. Couldn't stop myself. The market was closing. Vanessa stood inside counting the register. When she saw me through the window, she paused. Then she walked to the door, unlocked it. We're closed, she said, but she held the door open. I know. I walked in. The chime rang. She locked the door behind me. I lied, I said, earlier, when I said I wouldn't keep coming back. I know. I can't stay away from here. From you. Ethan. I'm not asking you to leave him, or change anything. I needed you to know, before I go, that this wasn't nothing. She stood there, arms wrapped around herself, looking smaller than I'd ever seen her. It wasn't nothing, she said finally. Quiet. For me either. We stood in that warm-lit space, the hum of refrigerators, the smell of citrus and coffee. All the things I'd memorized without meaning to. I have to go, I said. I know. But neither of us moved. Come back tomorrow, she said, voice barely above a whisper. Get your usual. We'll figure out how to say goodbye properly. Okay. I left. Walked home through cold November dark. Felt like I was carrying something heavy I couldn't name. The next 2 weeks were a countdown. Every day I went to the market. Every day Vanessa served me. We talked about small things, safe things. Never mentioned the envelope or the receipts or the way we both knew this was ending. The brownstone project wrapped. I did my final walkthrough with the foreman. Marcus showed up to inspect, shook my hand, thanked me for good work. If something comes up, I'll give you a call, he said. We both knew he wouldn't. My last day, I cleaned out my toolbox. Luis gave me a beer, wished me luck, said to keep in touch. I walked to Cole Market one last time. Vanessa was at the register. When I walked in, she looked up, smiled, sad and warm. Your usual? She asked. Yeah, she made it, wrapped it carefully, rang me up. I paid. She counted the change, set it on the counter between us. All accounted for, she said. Good. We stood there, the market warm around us, R&B playing low, Mrs. Green browsing wine in the back. Take care of yourself, Vanessa said. You too. I picked up my bag, turned to go. Ethan? I stopped. For what it's worth. She touched the spot on the counter where our hands never quite met. I'll remember this. You. All of it. Yeah. My voice cracked. Me too. The door chime rang as I left. I moved the following week. Found a cheaper place across town, farther from work, farther from everything. But some nights I'd take the train back, walk through that neighborhood, stand across the street from Cole Market and watch the warm lights through the windows. Sometimes I'd see Vanessa. Sometimes I wouldn't. Once, just once, she saw me standing there. We looked at each other across the street. The distance, the glass, the life she'd built that I could never be part of. She raised one hand. Just slightly. A wave, or maybe goodbye. I raised mine back. Then I walked to the corner. Got on the train. Went home. But I kept the receipt. The one from that very first day. The one with her note on the back. For next time you forget. Some change you spend and forget. Some you carry around for years, even when you swear you've let it go. And some nights when I can't sleep, I pull it out of my drawer and run my thumb over the faded ink and I remember what it felt like to want something I couldn't have. To be seen by someone who couldn't look too long. To know that sometimes the most dangerous affairs are the ones that never become physical, because they let you pretend you're innocent while your heart is somewhere it shouldn't be. I still walk past that corner sometimes. The market's still there. Same warm lights. Same door chime I'd know anywhere. Sometimes I go in, buy a sandwich, pay exact change, leave. Sometimes I just keep walking, but the receipt stays in my drawer. And some mornings I wake up and wonder if she kept one too. Would you have walked back in? Or finally taken your change and left?